This was an opportunity for me to hear what everybody else is doing, and in an area where you can have an extended conversation. And it's also an opportunity to hear the people at UNC who already have conquered all these mountains. I mean, this stuff is second nature to them. A lot of times when you're in the trench, you forget sometimes that your role is not to be in the trenches. That is not your role. So that whole idea of keeping the plates sort of spinning with the community, with the board, with the superintendent, with the other departments, so everybody's kind of on the same page, I feel like that's really my role. And a lot of times when you're looking at the kids and you're looking at the teachers and you're seeing what they want and need and you want to put your hands on it, you forget that all that's possible only through making sure that you've established those relationships in the community, with the commissioners, with your board, with your superintendent, with your principals, so that you don't have these barriers in front of you when you need to make something happen quickly. So this class has spoken to that. It's also spoken to the concerns that are nationwide. Safety, cyberbullying, bring your own device, funding, sustainability. All those things are part of our job and things we have to figure out, but not in isolation. So it's been good with this group to actually hear how other directors have addressed that and to get some good input from the people at UNC, to hear them say, to hear why people are doing what they're doing. The day we came to MCNC, to hear what you all were doing to make all these things happen, sort of like in the background. So here you are, it's all happening, but there's a lot of stuff that goes into making the internet come on when we want it, or the video conference to happen when we need it. So just being able to gather that all in and refresh yourself, so that taking that same model, we can do the same thing for our folks. I think that people have resisted integration of technology, that they have like stood on the sideline and said, okay, I'm going to wait this out. This too shall pass. And all of a sudden, unlike any other reform in education or any other movement in education, it's sort of like a wave washing over you. You saw it coming and you kept saying, I'm just going to step aside of this. But it was too big, and it just washed over everybody, and now it's sort of like not an option. All those folks who were waiting for it to go by, it went by, but they got washed over. Well, the challenges around one-to-one and the whole idea of bring your own device. Of course, that's the hot ticket item. I talked about integration before. Well, we've always had bring your own device, whether we want to admit it or not. Now, we may not have been in control of all that, but people for 10 years have brought their own devices. Now, the tipping point is coming where you're going to get more folks bringing their own device than not. So now you have to do something about it. You have to organize it. The whole concept of one-to-one is becoming now evident that too is going to be something that we're going to have to do at some point to be able to make sure to carry it out in a way that's not chaotic and that is sustainable. That's our goal. So that's the biggest challenge that we see right here. I think the content that most interests me is the law. What are the rules of engagement? Because there's no definitive source. There's no one place where we can go and say, here's the law. Here's what the law says. Here's the best practice. Everybody has their own take on it. And I think somebody wants a definitive, here is what you should be doing or not be doing. And I'm enlightened by some of the districts who do have concerns, community concerns, and they're having to address them. Now, we do that on a small scale. We may have one person a year that challenges X, So then we research it and we come up with a solution. You've got districts that get that every day. So I think having some of those concerns brought to the table and discussed, it prepares us so that we don't have to go out by ourselves and then try to research it. So I'm looking forward to Shannon and Maurice actually going through some of the rules, some of the law, some of the policy behind what we do. We have to have distance learning classes. Somebody's got to man that. Who do you think mans that? When the School of Science and Math wants to do an outreach program, or Elizabeth City State wants to do an outreach program, or East Carolina wants to do an online meeting or video conference meeting, who does that? We do. When a department wants to do a webinar, who does that? We do. You know, when students can't get to their email, who helps them? We do. So everything that every other school district does, we have to do it no matter how small you are. We have to provide the same services to our kids. Usually, a day begins with checking emails. I get about 100 emails a day. A third of those are totally something that people are fishing for me to do some business with them. So we can, but you know, you gotta look, because every once in a while they come up with an idea. About a third of them are from agencies that have something to do with one of my responsibilities, and the rest of them are from staff. Well, you have to prioritize all that because everybody wants something. So you have to prioritize that. Usually I can decide what I'm going to handle, I have to handle now, and what I can put off to the end of the day if it's something I hadn't planned to do. I spend a lot of time on NCYs, depending on the time of the year, when reports are due to the state prior to them being due, run through all our checks and balances. This time of year, scheduling and trying to close out the year. Media this time of the year is very hectic because we're doing our big report that goes on the school report card. So I have a lot of conversations with them, and they're usually individual because every school's different. And this time of year, this particular year, because we're going through consolidation of our high schools and a shifting of the other schools to make that consolidation happen, shifting of the grade spans, which means shifting of the media center, which means shifting of the data, which means shifting of the technology resources. So that makes this year kind of odd. We haven't done this since 2008, where we had this shifting. So we've done it before, so we know how to do it. So this year is kind of different, but there's no typical day. We've had a lot of success with E-rate. E-rate has been the difference between us staying in the game and being like run over by the bus, because I mean, there's no way we would have an infrastructure that we have now in our schools without E-rate. No way, no way. A school is a part of the community. We're a part of the community. There's no way we're going to separate ourselves from that. We do not live on an island. We are the community. And if we want our students to progress, the parents have got to progress, the church has got to progress, the businesses have got to progress. So whatever we can do to help that process, which I don't think is nearly enough, we just need a few more hands, then everybody's going to benefit. Teacher calls and says, "Miss Moses, check my video out." Or I get an email, "Tried such and such." Or, "Remember last summer when you showed us how to do this? Check this out." Or superintendent emails me and say, "Put this on our Facebook or Twitter, tweet this for me." Tweet this for me. Or just yesterday, with the thing that I took the call for this morning, for a director to call me back and say, "Man, you knocked it out of the park. We did not have that. How did you find that?" It's just that whole idea that it is our task to serve our customers and to make sure that our clients feel like we're accessible. Like we're not this department that we're up here and they can't be around us. When somebody calls and affirms to me that we have in fact done that, that's what makes me smile.